Jamie Pandaram, Julian Linden, Brendan Bradford. We're here at Accor Stadium where we've seen the Wallabies avoid that 3-0 loss, that clean sweep, Jules, which we all feared as the Australian rugby fraternity. They got it done with real mongrel and real grunt. How did you see that one unfolding? It was 22-12 in the end.
Yeah, I hope no one took any notice of my tips, because every game I tipped the wrong team. I tipped the Wallabies in the first two, and I tipped the Lions to win this. Oh, look, they just manned up in the set pieces straight away. So the scrum was really, really good. Taniela Tupou made a huge difference coming in on the scrum. The line out was terrific. Like Nick Foss was great in the line out. We got a lot of go forward from our guys. No Bobby Valentini, but everyone else was terrific. The guys who stepped in, who haven't been there, Billy Pollard, who has been starting on the bench as hooker, had an immense game. Tommy Hooper from Bathurst, immense game. And because it was wet, it was really a forward-dominated game, and we won that battle for the first time for the full 80 minutes. So earned it the hard way, but fully deserved it.
Truly bizarre game. We had a 35-minute stoppage with lightning. And, the two teams dealt with it in very different ways. We saw the Lions in the change rooms scrolling on their phones, eating bananas on boxes. The Wallabies were really focused in. We heard Joe Schmidt talk about how they had a plan before the game, knowing that there potentially could be lightning. They had players on the bikes. They had guys doing analysis on the laptops. And they had guys just going through the motions with the ball in hand. Brendan, you were keeping a really close eye on the players tonight. Who impressed you the most?
I've got to say, Taniela Tupou comes back. Imagine if he'd played the first two games. We might be sitting here after a series win. I truly think would have made that much of a difference. He was sensational. He also said that break helped him. I think it was 40 minutes in the end.
Yep.
As a big front rower who hasn't played a lot recently, he said he was able to get another sort of 10 or 15 minutes out of his body. So I thought he was outstanding. Will Skelton led from the front again. You talk about mongrel, Panda. It was Will Skelton today, and it was Will Skelton last week too. He almost led the two stinks that we saw today. But a mongrel, again, if he was playing the first test, where I think we all agree the Wallabies were a bit soft, a bit off, maybe we're sitting here looking at a different result.
Yeah, it really is a different team with the punch of Tupou and Alalator and Skelton and Valentini. We know Alalator is going to miss South Africa, Jules. We think that Jake Gordon may also miss that tour. He's got a bit of a hamstring problem. So we may see the shortest retirement of all time with Nick White. Now, he is up for it if called upon. But we also know that Ryan Lonergan's been brought into the camp late last week. And so you'd think that he would be given an opportunity, given that they are trying to build for the 27 World Cup. But any thoughts around Nick White potentially going to South Africa as an experienced head?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Look, I'm on record. I'm a Tate McDermott fan, and I would love to see Tate given the chance to start. I thought he was terrific when he came on. He scored a try tonight when he came on. He scored a try when he came on in the first test. In the second test, he came on and played the wing. I think if we're looking towards the future, and we need to be, because the Lions series is now over, I think we need to be looking at a way to get a guy like Ryan Lonergan in, and I think we need to be looking at the options of starting Tate. So, but in saying all that, if Jake Gordon's not fit and not available, I think you have to take Nick White. Actually played probably one of his better games that he has done in a while tonight. The conditions did suit him. And I think he could have come off maybe 10 minutes earlier. He started to slow down a bit, and he got pinged in a ruck and got pinged for not releasing the ball as well. But look, Joe does what Joe wants to do. So second guessing him is a fool's game. So, but I can see. I can see a possibility that he'd come back in, but I certainly would be going with Tate and giving young Lonergan a go.
And halves partners, there could be a real concern as well, guys, because we saw Tom Weiner come off with a head knock. So he's had a few concussions in his career. So that's going to be a real concern. So they may have to treat that with caution. Noah Lolosio is already out. So you're then thinking about Ben Donaldson, and then whether do you take an experienced head like James O'Connor? Do you bring in a young'un like Harry McLaughlin-Phillips? Someone like that who's untried, in the fortress of South Africa. They may have some thoughts around that. there was also a lot of talk about whether outside centre was the correct position for Joseph-Aukuso Sua'ali'i. What did you make of that, Brado? I mean, he seemed to improve much better this time in defence than he did at the MCG.
Yeah, I thought he was really good today. I thought he was one of the best on the park. Maybe his best game for Australia that I've seen him play. Again, I was pretty critical of Joseph playing 13, especially after the first game and a half. I thought he was all right last week, but certainly I was pushing for him to move out to the wing, I thought. But he played really well tonight. Len Ekitau as well. And more natural 13. He was really good at 12 as well. But it'd be interesting to see what they do going forward with those guys not generally playing there week in, week out. So it's an interesting one for Joe Schmidt. And yeah, I don't quite know what the future is for Sua'ali'i at the Wallabies if he stays at 13. But I thought he was tremendous tonight.
There's few things more bruising and battering than a Lions series. But one thing I can guarantee is that it's not going to let up in South Africa in the high veld against the two-time world champions, So it's going to be a real test of their character. What I was really impressed with, guys, was the way that they backed up a good performance in Melbourne with a fantastic performance here in Sydney. We haven't been seeing that level of consistency from the team, but can they then take it forward to what is the toughest place to play rugby in the world?
Well, given that my last three tips were wrong, I'm going to say that they're going to get thrashed, which means that they will win. So, look, I mean, going to South Africa and playing at altitude is a whole different context. I can't remember the stat off the top of my head, but we won in Bloemfontein. It's like once in 50 years or something like that we've won, and I think it was a game in Bloemfontein. I can't remember the last time the Wallabies won in Joburg and certainly Pretoria. So no, I mean it's going to be a tough ask. I think the way that the Wallabies should be approaching that is two tests, trying to get one. All these matches are really important for ranking points because the World Cup seedings are going to be done on rankings at the end of the year. I think if we could go there and win one game, maybe the game in Cape Town at sea level, I think we'd sign on the dotted line and take that right now. The reality of trying to come off the back of a Lions series and beat the world champions in the thin air at Joburg is almost impossible, really. But
Andy Farrell was actually very complimentary about the Wallabies and where they could be in a couple of years' time when they host the World Cup. The World Cup final will be here right behind us in 2027. Is he right, Brado? Can the Wallabies mount some sort of campaign to be a realistic chance to hoist the Webb Ellis Trophy?
Absolutely. I think in the last 2 weeks, we've seen enough sort of green sprouts that will come to fruition over the next 2 years. You're talking about guys like Liner, who, to make your starting debut in a Lions series, and he stood up. He was brave. He didn't have to do all the sort of playmaking. Tom Wright was really, really good this series. But there's a lot of those guys. Tom Hooper as well. A lot of those guys in 2 years, they'll be better for this experience as well. And I think this result tonight is going to be huge in building that confidence, building that momentum. You sort of look back to the Eddie Jones era where he blooded a lot of guys and it just went up in flames, right? And a lot of guys sort of weren't going to rebuild from that. So this result tonight, this win, the grit, the mongrel, I think will give them a lot of heart going ahead for the next 2 years.
And setting up some solidity, we did find out at the press conference that the likes of Tom Hooper, who was the man of the match, and Daniela Tupou, who's off to France, and Langi Gleeson as well, who's off to Europe, they will be considered for the South African series. Maybe not for the whole rugby championship, but certainly Joe Schmidt said they will be available, which adds a little bit of depth to a squad that's still really developing, but showed real heart here in Sydney to get the result done. So the series ends 2-1. The Lions claim it, but the Wallabies have put some heartbeat back into the gold jersey.